Pay attention to this security camera footage. October 12, 2023, in Flagstaff, Arizona. The surveillance camera in front of house number 214 captured exactly 19 seconds. You see Michael Reeves, 42 years old, opening his garage door. The light inside turns on, casting a thin strip of brightness down the driveway. Next, Natalie Whitlock, 32 years old, appears from the left edge of the frame. She walks quickly to Michael, naturally links her arm with his, then leans in to say something that makes him smile. A few seconds later, Aaron Whitlock, 33 years old, enters the frame. He wraps his arm around Natalie's waist, pulling her close to him in a light but clear assertion. The three stand together, talking like old acquaintances. Michael bends down to check the trailer wheels in the garage. Natalie places one hand on his back, while Aaron stands right beside her, his face trying to stay calm. The camera captures every movement clearly. Natalie tilts her head slightly toward Michael. Aaron lightly touches her shoulder as if reminding her. Michael turns back, nods to both, then steps into the garage. Natalie and Aaron follow him. The door slowly lowers, and the frame goes dark. That was the last image of Michael while he was still alive. 6 days later, October 18, 2023, 4:12 p.m. A group of hikers in Ravenhill Forest discovers a human hand protruding from the sandy soil. They call 911. Investigators arrive. They dig up the thin layer of earth. Beneath it is Michael Reeves, deep ligature marks around his neck, multiple broken bones, drag marks on his body. The death was not an accident. It opened a case no one in Flagstaff could have imagined. After 21 years of service on the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz, Michael Reeves, 42, returned to Flagstaff in late 2018 to care for his mother, who had just been diagnosed with cancer. He stayed by her side until she passed in 2022, then continued living alone in the small house on Pine Ridge Court. No wife, no close relatives. Michael poured his affection into the community around him. He opened Reeves Auto and Metalworks, fixing cars for neighbors, changing oil for free for the elderly, helping students who couldn't pay. Flagstaff residents called him Kind Mike, and he just replied, "I do what I can." The encounter that changed his life happened one afternoon in February 2023. Natalie Whitlock was driving her 3-year-old daughter to school when the car suddenly died in the middle of the road. She turned on the hazard lights, carried the child out, and stood helplessly watching smoke rise from the hood. Michael drove by, stopped immediately. He opened the hood, checked for a few seconds, tightened a loose bolt. When he started the engine, it roared to life. Natalie sighed in relief. Her grateful smile, tired but genuine, was something Michael said he could never forget. 10 minutes later, Aaron Whitlock arrived after her distress call. He shook Michael's hand firmly. "Thanks, brother." Michael wiped his hands on a rag and said, "Mike, just call me that." And from that moment, a quiet bond formed between them. It started with Michael fixing their cars for free, then Aaron bringing beers to the garage while Michael was still working, then evenings with all three sitting under the yellow light, talking about life, work, and a future they didn't yet know. Natalie's daughter ran around playing with old toolboxes Michael couldn't bear to throw away. No one forced the closeness, it just grew, filling voids all three carried inside. Aaron worked seasonal jobs at a lumber mill. Work was irregular, income spotty. Natalie stayed home with the child, taking hourly cleaning gigs for extra cash. Their life was as shaky as the old trailer they lived in. And Michael's stability, the man who always showed up at the right time, made them see him as an unspoken anchor. When their trailer broke down badly, Michael fixed it all. No charge. He lay under it until 10 p.m., headlamp on, hands covered in oil, just to make sure the rear axle was safe for a long trip. Natalie brought him coffee and said softly, "You're too good, Mike. I don't know how to thank you." Michael replied, "Helping makes me happy." Aaron nodded beside him. "Without you, my family would be done for." Neighbors sometimes looked over and thought they were an extended family. Michael gave Natalie's daughter a small pink bike. He rebuilt it from scraps, polished every detail. Natalie hugged him gratefully. Aaron and Michael set up a BBQ table in the backyard, laughing into the night. Once a neighbor's camera caught Michael teaching Natalie to drive off-road. The truck bounced over mounds, both laughing like old friends. At that time, Aaron wasn't upset. To him, Michael wasn't just a kind neighbor, he was the big brother he never had. The bond deepened when Michael helped them manage the $12,000 insurance money from a car accident. The Whitlocks didn't have a suitable account, and Natalie feared Aaron would blow it all if he kept it. Michael agreed to hold it. He even planned to help Aaron find steadier work after winter. Many evenings in the garage, Aaron said, "Mike, you're a blessing to this family." Michael just smiled. "I'm doing what anyone should," and he believed it. To Michael, they were the only family he had left. To Natalie, he was one of the rare kind people in her turbulent life. And none of the three knew that this seemingly harmless closeness was the seed of a tragedy no one could foresee. On May 14, 2023, Aaron noticed Natalie smiling more whenever Michael appeared. She casually touched Michael's arm, rested her head lightly on his shoulder while watching him fix the car, or sat next to him in the garage like it was the safest place in the world. At first it was just fleeting discomfort, but by the end of the month it became a repeating question in Aaron's head. He likes her, and she likes him. Natalie didn't know. To her, Michael was the only one who listened when life grew heavier. In June 2023, Aaron lost his job at the lumber mill after an argument with the manager. He drank more, slept less, got angrier. Whenever Aaron raged, Natalie went to Michael's shop, sat in the green plastic chair he always kept for her, and said, "I'm so tired, Mike." He smashed things again. The little girl cried in fear. Michael just replied, "You're not alone. Things will get better." Those words weren't wrong, but to Aaron they were a deep thorn. Then came the $12,000 insurance money. Michael held it because Aaron had no account, and because Natalie once said if given to her husband, he'd drink it away in a week. At first Aaron trusted completely, but as unemployment dragged on and money pressure grew, he started demanding Michael return it all. Michael refused, not because he wanted to keep it, but because he feared Natalie and the child would suffer. Natalie tried to explain, but Aaron just said, "He wants to control our family. He wants you in debt to him." Those thoughts simmered until August 2023, when they exploded. That evening, neighbors saw Natalie run to Michael's house in panic. She was crying, hand covering her cheek. Michael stepped out, gently placed a hand on her shoulder, then pulled her into a hug to calm her. Nothing more. But the next morning a neighbor told Aaron, "Last night I saw your wife hugging Mr. Reeves real tight. Looked unusually close." No one knew that a single comment like that was enough to ignite the jealousy that had been smoldering in Aaron for months. That night Aaron trashed the garage, flipped the BBQ table, threw beer cans at the wall, and yelled, "I know about you two. I know everything." Natalie ran to Michael's again, while Aaron smashed the trailer windows until his hand bled. On August 4, 2023, Michael walked over to the trailer and told Aaron straight, "If you hit her one more time, I'll call the police." A simple statement, but to Aaron, it felt like a declaration of war. He began believing Michael was trying to take Natalie away, turning her and the child into his new family. In Aaron's distorted mind, Michael was no longer a benefactor, no longer a close friend. He was the biggest threat to his life. And from that moment, the idea of killing Michael Reeves didn't come as an impulse. It came as something he had to do to reclaim the life he thought he was losing. After August 4, 2023, everything in Aaron Whitlock's head rearranged into a twisted but crystal clear logic to him. Either Michael Reeves disappeared, or his family disappeared. He believed Michael was stealing his wife and child, that Natalie was one step away from moving in with Michael forever. In a moment, investigators later described as complete loss of rational capacity. Aaron convinced himself that killing Michael wasn't just about jealousy. It was the only way to start over with the $12,000 insurance money, the F-250 truck and the trailer Michael had just fixed. To Aaron, it was a chance to escape Flagstaff and rebuild in New Mexico. But he knew he couldn't do it alone. That's when the manipulation began. From mid-August, Aaron kept telling Natalie that Michael was interfering in their marriage. Some days he whispered in her ear, "If he stays alive, he'll take you from me." Other days he said bluntly, "Who do you choose?" Natalie was terrified, not of Michael, but of Aaron. She knew how explosive he could be. She knew he'd thrown a chair at the wall when their daughter cried too loud. She knew he'd choked her when drunk. That fear, plus the child she needed to protect, weakened her resistance day by day. By early September, Aaron forced Natalie to agree to help him lure Michael. Not to kill, he said, just to talk things out. But Natalie wasn't stupid. She understood that once Aaron planned something, it wouldn't stop at talking. But she had no way out. Their 3-year-old slept in the next room every time Aaron raged. She chose silence. Meanwhile, Aaron began preparing. On September 9, Home Pro store camera recorded him buying strangling cord, plastic sheeting, a rubber mallet, and rubber gloves. On September 11, he returned for industrial rags and strong cleaner. No one suspected because they were normal auto repair items, except Aaron was no longer a mechanic and had no reason to need them. Even more chilling, Aaron deliberately cleaned Michael's garage a few days earlier. He made an excuse to help Michael prepare for a trip, moved everything to the left corner, creating a large empty space in the middle, big enough for a grown man to fall without hitting anything. By October 12, the plan unfolded. Natalie sent Michael a simple text at 7:48 p.m. "Mike, can you check the trailer wheels one last time? We're leaving for New Mexico tomorrow." Michael replied in 30 seconds, "Sure, come over now." He couldn't know that message would lead him straight to his fatal moment in his own garage hours later. 10:32 p.m., October 12, 2023. Michael Reeves' garage lit up as he raised the metal door. The trailer the Whitlocks would use for their New Mexico trip was already inside, just as Aaron described, with unusual rattling that made Michael worried and want to check again. Michael stepped in first, bent down to inspect the undercarriage, hand tracing the steel frame for loose spots. He didn't know Aaron's request wasn't about concern. It was to get Michael in exactly that position, bent low, back turned, completely off guard. 10:35 p.m., Natalie entered the garage after Michael. She stopped close beside him, voice so low only they could hear. "Mike, thank you. You're family to me." Michael looked up, slightly surprised but smiling, thinking she was emotional about leaving Flagstaff. He placed a hand on the trailer door and said, "Family helps each other." Then he knelt to check the rear axle. That was the last moment Natalie saw Michael whole, breathing normally, still believing he was among friends. 10:36 p.m. Aaron approached from behind with the cord already looped in both hands, movements swift and precise as if rehearsed many times in his mind. He threw the loop over Michael's neck, pulled hard and yanked Michael's body backward. A choked sound escaped. Michael tried to push up, but Aaron pressed a knee into his back, forcing him down onto the concrete. Michael struggled, arms flailing into a toolbox, sending the metal tray crashing down, the clatter echoing through the garage. 10:37 p.m. The strangling turned into a brutal fight. Michael braced both hands on the floor, trying to lift himself to loosen the cord, but Aaron pressed his full weight down, pulling tighter. Michael's face turned purple, breaths ragged. Natalie stood frozen, hands shaking violently. Aaron yelled, "Hold his legs now." Natalie shook her head, backing away, but Aaron hissed, "You want your kid to die too?" That broke her. She rushed forward, grabbed Michael's legs so he couldn't kick Aaron. Michael kicked hard, but only hit air. 10:39 p.m. Aaron felt Michael still had strength to rise, so he reached for the nearby rubber mallet. He slammed it into Michael's left ribs. A small but clear crack sounded. Michael let out a choked cry, arms buckling. Aaron struck the right ribs again. Michael curled in agony, breaths heaving. Blood began seeping from Michael's knees and elbows from scraping the concrete. Natalie sobbed, "Aaron, stop. Please stop." But Aaron heard nothing but the rage tearing through his mind. 10:41 p.m. In a final effort, Michael lifted his head enough to force out broken words. "Why? I helped you both." Aaron yelled back, voice distorted with fury. "Because you think you're better than me. You think I need you." He yanked the cord so hard Michael's neck muscles bulged, then put his full body weight into one last pull. 10:43 p.m. A small snap sounded. Michael's hyoid bone broke. His body went limp instantly, then collapsed face down. His eyes stayed open, staring at the concrete as if he still didn't understand. Natalie released his legs, back to the wall, hands covering her face. Aaron stood panting, soaked in sweat, then looked down at the body like it was irreversible. And it was. From that moment, there was no turning back. 10:44 p.m. Aaron began covering up. He spread the plastic sheet, flipped Michael's body with rough pulls. Michael's head hit the pickup bed edge, making a dry, heavy thud. The skull cracked further. Natalie was forced to hold Michael's head and shoulders while Aaron lifted his legs. The body was heavier than they expected, making them pause several times. Once the body was in the truck bed, Aaron breathed heavily, hands trembling slightly, but eyes eerily blank. 11:12 p.m. The neighbor's camera recorded two figures dragging something heavy out of the garage and loading it into the truck. Aaron climbed into the driver's seat. Natalie sat beside him, face ashen. The pickup started and left Pine Ridge Court, heading toward Ravenhill Forest. 11:50 p.m. They stopped at a spot about 300 meters from the main trail. Aaron dug a shallow grave with a small shovel he brought. Natalie stood a few steps away. They placed Michael in the hole, covered it hastily, then piled dry branches on top. Before leaving, Aaron took Michael's phone and threw it into a nearby ravine. A faint clatter echoed, then faded into darkness. As the truck left Ravenhill Forest, the sun hadn't risen and Flagstaff was still asleep. No one knew that in less than an hour and a half, a kind man, who saw them as family, had his life taken by that very family, in the cruelest, most inhuman way. 3 days after the night of October 12th, no one at Reeves Auto and Metalworks saw Michael arrive. An employee tried calling, but it rang, then went to voicemail. On the third morning, they called Flagstaff police. "He's never missed a shift. Something's wrong." The search began. Police visited Michael's house, found the garage closed, his pickup gone. No signs of struggle, but no notes suggesting he left voluntarily. The first thing they did was check neighborhood cameras. Most homes had none, or they faced inward. Only the camera at House 214 across the street captured footage at 10:42 p.m. on October 12. Police replayed it many times. Michael entering the garage, right behind him. Natalie and Aaron Whitlock. In the 19-second clip, all three are clearly visible. But the most critical part wasn't them entering. It was only two leaving. At 11:12 p.m., the camera showed two figures dragging something heavy out of the garage and putting it in the truck bed. Natalie and Aaron drove away in Michael's pickup. From that moment, police knew. This wasn't a missing adult. It was murder. They searched Michael's garage on October 19, just hours after his body was found in Ravenhill Forest. The garage looked unnaturally clean. Concrete floor scrubbed hard multiple times. But when luminol was sprayed, the floor lit up in patches of blue. Blood streaks wiped too hastily, not completely. A single blood drop remained under the main shelf, enough to send for testing. They also found very faint shoe prints near the metal table leg. Compared to prints at the burial site in Ravenhill Forest, they matched. Same wear, same tread pattern, same size. They were work boots Aaron commonly wore at the lumber mill. Police continued following digital evidence. Michael's Find My app showed the phone's last signal at the exact location his body was found. The pickup's GPS data matched the route. Left Pine Ridge Court at 11:12 p.m., stopped at Ravenhill Forest at 11:49 p.m., left at 12:03 a.m. Everything aligned with the camera timeline. By then, Natalie and Aaron were prime suspects. Police arrested them on October 20 at a cheap motel in Winslow, about 60 miles from Flagstaff. In the room were a few bags of clothes, a suitcase with $8,000 cash. The money Michael had held for them, now missing from its original hiding spot. During interrogation, Aaron immediately requested a lawyer and stayed completely silent. He sat back, hands clasped, eyes on the floor. No admission. Natalie was the opposite. She trembled, hands rubbing together non-stop, eyes bloodshot. It took only 40 minutes before she broke down sobbing. I didn't want this to happen. Aaron made me. I just wanted to protect my child." She confessed everything. Every minute, every detail, every blow, every choke. She said Aaron always believed Michael wanted to steal his wife and child, that Michael was the only threat keeping them from starting over. She described that night, the terror when Aaron said, "If you don't help, he'll kill you and the girl too." Natalie's confession, combined with the camera, GPS, luminol and shoe prints, built a case the public defender had to admit. It's indefensible. The trial took place in June 2024 in Coconino County Court. When the prosecution played the 19-second camera clip, the room fell dead silent. The image of Michael smiling at Natalie, sincere, unguarded, hit every juror like a punch to the chest. When it showed the two figures dragging the heavy object out, some turned away. One female juror cried. The verdict came quickly. Aaron Whitlock was sentenced to life without parole. The judge said the defendant's cruelty goes beyond any reason. Natalie, despite cooperating, received 25 years for participating and failing to save Michael when she had the chance. As she left the courtroom, she turned back once, as if searching for an answer to what led them to this abyss. The case closed, but the damage it left never will. Michael Reeves, the man who always opened his arms to help, who never refused anyone who knocked for car help, who saw Natalie and Aaron as the only family he had left, died at the hands of the two he trusted most. His co-workers at Reeves Auto and Metalworks placed a memorial table in front of the garage. A photo of Michael smiling, neatly folded American flags, a wrench he often used, and a scribbled note from a neighborhood boy. Flagstaff residents occasionally stop, leave flowers, or stand quietly for a few minutes before leaving. Michael's death wasn't just one person's loss. It was a loss for an entire community, used to seeing him every morning. Meanwhile, Natalie's family shattered completely. Her 3-year-old daughter, the child who once called Michael Uncle Mike, entered foster care, separated from the mother she clung to every night. Natalie sobbed in court hearing that decision, but her despair came too late. She was the only one who truly knew what she surrendered when she agreed to step into that garage that night. Her morality, her humanity, her own child's future. Not because she wanted to, but because fear and dependency pushed her to the edge without daring to step back. As for Aaron, the man who believed killing a benefactor was the only way to keep his family, he lost everything. Family, freedom, future, and the very reason he claimed drove him, his wife and daughter. Flagstaff residents who followed the case couldn't help shuddering at the raw truth. The cruelest betrayal always comes from those you trust most. Michael didn't die in a robbery. He died because of his kindness, because he believed family-like bonds could heal others' brokenness. But the Whitlocks didn't need a helping hand. They needed a sacrifice to save the distorted world they built. And in the end, technology did what humans couldn't. The camera didn't change the truth, it only exposed the truth. The killers tried to hide. It simply recorded, and recorded enough to shatter the story. Aaron and Natalie tried to create about a sudden trip, an unexplained disappearance. Before that emotionless lens, the betrayal was laid bare. Michael's final smile, Natalie's tense eyes, Aaron's hand lightly gripping his wife's waist, and the garage door slowly lowering, sealing off an entire human life. The story ends with a simple but haunting truth. They thought they erased every trace. They didn't know a camera across the street had seen it all. And those 19 seconds of footage gave Michael Reeves back his voice. If you found this story helpful, and want to hear more cases told in the most truthful perspective, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for watching. See you in the next stories.